This is the Eden assignment for Monday, April the 16th. Coming down in 3, 2, 1. Hi again, everybody. I'm Karen Eden with the Eden assignment. And I'm looking around and seeing how we're still having snow. Here we are in April. And a lot of people are starting to get depressed about that because it's cold and it's cloudy, and you could definitely see the difference. I mean, I can, especially when I look at some of the social media posts. You know, I just want to encourage you just to hang in there because, you know, seasons change. And as bad as it is right now, it's going to have to change because we're getting too close to the sun. That's just the way things revolve. Seasons also change in your own life. And that's an assignment that I am going to be working on next week for next week's show. But for this week, it was very much impressed upon me to talk about something that I hear a lot. And I wanted to elaborate on a statement that says, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. Because it's very much a physical way to look at results. And a lot of what I do on my program and in my life is I try to take a spiritual venue to handling things. And I've noticed that when I do that, the spiritual way of doing things sometimes is the totally opposite of the physical way of doing things. It can be very inside out and upside down. And that's because the spirit realm has a different set of rules that it goes by. And the physical realm, you know, it's very much A plus B equals C, but in the spirit realm, it can be A plus C equals B, A plus C equals E, B, C, B, E, E. It's like there's so many different formulas, and as you can see, I'm not very good at math, but you get my point. You know, sometimes people get very discouraged because they don't see the physical results of something that they really put their heart, mind, and soul into. Coming up in the broadcasting business, and I started as a teenager in radio, and I did radio for a long time, about 12 years. Absolutely loved it, still love it. Love what I'm doing right now. And then I went into television, and so I had a very long broadcasting career. It was very lucrative. I did pretty good. But the one thing that I never liked about working for corporations, especially in broadcasting, where employee evals, you know, yearly evaluations. As you see in my business, not only do you get like a yearly eval to see how your progress is, but you get weekly evals. Sometimes you get daily evals. Depends. If you work for a startup station, those guys are, you know, the management is really putting you under a lot of pressure to go by the way they want you to sound or to look in television. And it gets, man, it just gets stupid. It's like after a while, you have to have such a self-sense of knowing and confidence, because when you get into those daily air check sessions, I mean, they really mess with your head. I always say I can look at a TV show, like a TV news program, or I can hear someone on the radio, and I can always tell when they just had an air check session, because they typically sound stiff and they sound like they have to really concentrate something formatically, as opposed to just being themselves and letting it just ride out with their own personality. And because it'll do that to you. It kind of wipes out your self-confidence, you know, and so having them once in a while is really not bad, because then you can be on the same page with your bosses. But when you have them constantly, it's man, it's tough. It's just, it messes with you really bad. So anyway, maybe you're not, you know, in broadcasting, but if you work for any kind of corporation, then you know what a yearly eval is. And that's because corporations are looking for results. That's the bottom line. They want to know, A, if you're bringing in money, or if you're bringing in results, or if you're bringing in ratings, in my case, with what I did for a living. There's just a bunch of questions to see where you're at. And, you know, if you don't have a good yearly evaluation, they put that in your personal file, and you know, they don't forget about that. And I mean, that's what it's like to work for a living, and no wonder we all die too soon, because it's a lot to have to live up to what somebody expects of you. But you know, they're paying you to do a job, and they expect you to be able to do it. So that's what I'm talking about when I say, you know what, results in the physical realm. I'm talking about like an employee eval or another air check session. You know, the spirit realm, they don't care about evals and air check sessions. The spirit realm looks at results differently. The spirit realm has a different type of pace and a different timing. And I've really had to learn this, because you can get very discouraged if you feel you're doing what you've always wanted to do and it's not working out, or someone says you're not any good, or your eval comes back horrible. I mean, or if you're in karate, you're not getting the students, you're not getting you're not reaching the goals and the business aspect of whatever it is you do. And that puts a lot of pressure on people. Man, it can really put a lot of pressure on people. I mean, some people get psychotic over this stuff. You know, I want to encourage you today to not just look at things physically, and I say that because I don't want you to get fired if you have to have a yearly eval or whatever, but I want you to keep in mind the spiritual aspects to life. You know, there are more worlds than the one that people hold in their hands. People just think there's a physical plane, and there's more than just that one physical plane. And now with technology, there's documentation that there's more out there than just a physical plane. It's just amazing what's happening today, especially in the world of paranormal science and being able to even look and get glimpses beyond the realm of what we only can see with our physical eyes. You know, I'm always taken back by people who don't believe in spiritual things. I mean, I try to be patient, but, you know, when I'm in an airplane and you look out the window and you see all those big fluffy clouds, if I knew absolutely nothing, I would think, well, I could really just open up the airplane door and probably step out on those clouds and start walking. But, you know, you can't do that, because what you see with your physical eyes is very fooling. You know, you can't really go by what you see. You have to go by what you know. And that's just, to me, an example of how you can't really go by your physical set of eyes. If you sense something inside of your own being that you feel is the truth of your life and what you're supposed to be doing, do not give up. Do not give in. Those of us who teach karate, we always laugh when we talk to our students, because we say, you know, when I was a white belt, I wasn't really that good. Well, no white belts are. Nobody as a white belt is really any good, and I wasn't any good either. I just never quit. And now it's 28 years later, and I'm a master ranked instructor. It's incredible. But when we look at students, you know, we can see different potential. And sometimes a student who thinks they're really, really bad at what they do because they can't remember the moves, the patterns, or, you know, things like, or they kept getting beat up in class or whatever. As a teacher, you look at that differently, because it's hard to explain, but you see potential in students when they don't see it in themselves. You know, there's just something there that you know is very, very good. And I'm very grateful that even in my career that there were people who looked at my tapes when I was shopping around for work, and they saw potential in me. That's happened to me more than once. I mean, having to make a transition from radio to TV even. In Roanoke, Virginia, I was working for a radio station, K92, and at the time it was a very hot popping radio station. Man, they cued incredible ratings. But I went from working at that station into my first TV job at WSLS Channel 10 in Roanoke, Virginia. I had absolutely no TV experience. But when the news director brought me in, and what I had was a demo tape. See, a demo tape is different than an air check. An air check actually has work on it, you know, where you've actually been on the air. A demo tape is used somewhere in a studio pretending to be on the air. So there's a difference in the two, and that's what I had. I had a demo tape. I had a tape that a good friend of mine that had a broadcasting school right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he let me come in after hours and turn on the cameras and let me make a tape. And that's all I had for TV. Plenty of radio stuff, but that's what I had for TV. So I remember his words. I remember what he said to me. I was still very young, I think early 20s. I remember him looking at me going, you know, I'm going to tell you truthfully, your tape's not very good. I'm like, by that time I was so hardened from people, you know, not thinking I was good or whatever. It really didn't hurt my feelings that much. I had nothing to lose. But then he goes, but, yeah, the but. When you hear but, you know that's totally going to wipe out the first part of what that person just said. But, he said, I see potential in you, and I'm going to give you that job. That job was a weekend weather anchor position, and he totally changed my future by taking a chance on me. Totally changed my future. So I went in, and I actually have a video of either my first or second tape. I look at it now and go, you know what, man, that ain't too bad. You didn't really do that bad. I see potential in me, too. I mean, I look like this really shy little girl, you know, but I didn't have a lot of confidence, but I was pulling it off okay. So now I see what he says when he says, I see potential in you, you know, and you just have to work at it, and you have to get better and better at it. But that's where I'm trying to encourage you to say, listen, just because you don't have the amount of students that you think you should have right now, or just because your yearly eval came back and it was very mediocre, you know, you got to realize something. There's potential there. And if there wasn't potential there, you probably would have already lost your job, or, you know, they would have said, you know, we need to have a mutual agreement of the parting of the ways, which is something they say a lot in my business, a lot. Even your own instructor, if you're if someone who trains in martial arts, you work with the students that you see potential in. If someone has absolutely zippo potential, you kind of leave them alone and you know, don't really bother them a whole lot, you know. Now you know the tricks. If you feel like your teacher's picking on you a lot, it's probably because they go, wow, you know what, you can be very good. You just need some direction. But getting back to the spirit realm. Oh, yes, the realm where everything is inside out and upside down. You have to understand that you were created and put on this planet at this very time, at this very place, for you to make a difference. You see, you could have been brought in 1492. You could have been brought in the 1800s or, you know, 3000 BC. There are a lot of different possibilities for you to be brought into this world. But here you are, you're brought in right now at this time. That's time that can't be wasted. And if you feel a tug in your heart that you're supposed to do something, I don't want you to diminish that at all. There's something to that. And all of us can say the very same thing. Oh, I got to make a living. I got to support my family. I need to make money, so I have to do the job I'm doing right now. And I'm so tired, I don't really have time, you know, or I'm so busy with other things, I don't really have time to invest in myself, but maybe one day I'll be able to. A lot of people think that way, and that is a very physical way to look at things. So I'm going to smack you on that. I'm going to tell you that, you know, you are here right now with a desire in your heart to do something, and I don't care if it's 10 minutes a week. You need to do it, guys. You need to move in the direction and flow in the way that's tugging at your heart. 10 minutes a week. Find some time to move in that direction. Many times I've had a desire in my heart, and I had absolutely no clue how it was going to happen. But you see, I learned that that doesn't really matter. Because in the spirit realm, if you just move in that direction, it works out. People contact you. A networking takes place. You start to learn and you start to go, okay, well, this time I'm going to do this and this time I'm going to do that, but you've got to move in the right direction. You have to put that foot forward into that direction. That light shineth brighter than like the dawning of a new day. And I know that's a real pretty thing to say, and I didn't make that up. That's actually in the Bible. But it's true. In the spirit realm, that light will shine brighter with every step that you take on how things are supposed to happen. And then if you have a spiritual relationship with the Lord, it gets easier because then he starts to guide your footsteps. He says, I'll guide your footsteps. I'll tell you where to go and how to do it. I can't tell you how many times I've stood out in the dark without a single clue on how I was going to get to the desires of my heart. But I just initiated, sometimes one step. I was a 15-year-old girl in Roanoke, Virginia, and there was a radio station right down the road from where I used to go to church. A little AM daytimer, half country and gospel on the weekends. I couldn't even drive. I walked to that station. I said, I just wondered if you had anything that I could do. He asked me how old I was. I said, I'm 15. They go, well, you're a little young. However, we can train you till you're 16, which basically means free labor, but I didn't care. And they did train me. They put me on, and I made a lot of bad mistakes. I remember putting tapes on backwards. You guys know who Jerry Falwell is? Well, he used to have a program on this show when I worked on Sundays, and back then they had tape. I put his tape on backwards. And it was like, it was hilarious, man. Yeah, a lot of good memories working at that station to inspect programming. A lot of technicalities to it. Back then it wasn't easy like it is now with a computer. I mean, you had to thread tape machines. You had to edit tape. You had to time stuff. I know. What's the matter? You guys didn't know I was 210? What? Okay. Anyway, I moved in the right direction even as a young girl. I was at a situation where I would do anything to get out of my personal situation and try to be better than what I came out of. And that was something that I learned to do, and it's something that still works today. I'm not real sure if I had the same type of boldness I had back then. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, well, this is what you should do, Karen. You should make this phone call. I'm like, man, I really don't want to do that. I have to talk myself into it. It seems like anymore. It's like, come on, Karen, one phone call. You've heard the word no before. You're still alive, right? I don't like no. I don't like hearing the word no, and I've heard it a million times. But there was one time I didn't hear it, and that's all it took was that one time where someone said yes. That's all it took to get me going in my career. Somebody believed in me. Okay, maybe 50 to 100 people did not believe in me. Maybe they laughed at my tape. I don't know. But you know what? Somebody did. One person did. And as I write in my blogs, that's all it takes is one person. That's all it takes. Don't go by results. What you see right now as results is the bottom line of money or student retention, detention, intervention. I don't care. I try to sit through these business seminars. They kill me. Can't do it. Well, you know what? You can't go by those results from a spiritual perspective. You've got to take one step at a time and keep figuring out how that path is going to work for you. The path you take may not be the exact same steps and movement that somebody else takes. It's good to listen to mentors, and it's good to listen to guides and people who have made it. But just because they made it that way doesn't mean that's the way you're going to make it. You just don't quit. Just keep going. Keep moving. One little step. Guys, 10 minutes a week toward that little tug in your heart with what it is you're supposed to be doing. Move in the right direction, and you will see incredible results. Corporation evals, to me, go in the circular file. Pure junk. I was at one point at a supervisory position one time at one job that I won't talk about too much, but I had to do employee evals. Hated them. You know what I hated worse than getting an employee eval? Having to do one. Having to administer one. Because, you know, from my point of view, everybody sucked. I didn't know what to do with that. Like, yeah, okay, come on in. It's a formality. You know, how do you think you're doing? All right, there's your side of the paper. You know, check the box with how you think you're doing. I check my little box, and then we compare them. You know, I mean, who's going to sit there and say they stink at everything, right? So, to me, they're a waste of time. I'd rather just call them and say, look, at that time of year, look at me, look at my face. You're okay, but I want you to do better. Just give me 3 minutes with each employee. You're okay, you're good, and you're really good at this part, but I want you to do better. Because that's what this corporation wants, and you have to strive to be the best that you can be. So that's all I have to say, so go. And by the way, if you really screw up or you stink at what you do, I'm just going to fire you. How about that? I mean, come on, can't we just do that? I don't know why we have to sit there and play the game with the paperwork, but I actually do know why, because if you ever have to fire somebody, you know, you've got to have that file where you said, well, we signed on this, and we told you weren't at where we needed you to be, and, you know, now we got to let you go because you didn't meet our standards. Oh, my gosh, it's so stressful just thinking about that. So glad I don't really have to do that too much anymore. I know all the karate instructors out there that have room school are like, yeah, man, I hear you. So glad I don't have to do that anymore. But it is a part of life, and it's part of not getting sued when someone blows you out and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to dwell too much on that today because I really want to take you back to the spirit realm, where you have to understand that if you were put here for a purpose and a reason, that that thing in your heart that says, this is what I'm supposed to do, you really need to move in that direction. You know, don't look for proof in the pudding, because it is very misleading to judge by physical results. I mean, you look at all the people, you know, even in my business, I remember having interns come in and they say, you know, would you look at my tape or whatever? And I look at their tape, and of course it was terrible. But, you know, I'm not going to tell them that. They're interns. I'm like, oh, yeah, great, nice job. I always tell them they're doing a good job because I don't want to discourage them. They're interns. You know, I've had some of them come back later when they got their little jobs wherever and they were working their way up and go, man, I appreciate you telling me I was doing good. That really means a lot to me. You know, just encouraging them, even if it wasn't the truth at the time, because in a physical result when you're an intern is not going to be the same result after you have some training and you actually are on the air and you've got some experience under your belt, and these people get really, really good, just like I did. My demo tape was terrible, so I was told. But you know what? I got better, and I got better and better and better. And today, I'm not mad at that guy at all for telling me how bad my tape was. I appreciate it because he gave me a chance anyway because he thought I had potential. Potential's the key, not results. Potential. Okay, well, listen, I'm just going to tell you again, I have 4 books out. You can Google them. You can find out what they are. A lot of them are very martial artsy, but they're also very philosophical, and I have people who aren't in martial arts who do read my books because they like the philosophy and the reasoning and the understand and the inspiration behind the way that I write. Thank you. I'm not bragging. Thank you a million times over. I'm so glad that I can inspire somebody and make a difference. Write for 2 karate columns, and I appreciate that people are supporting my inspirational writing. I've been in magazines for over 20 years now. Yeah, I told you I'm 210. People don't believe me. I also want to thank a sponsor of the Eden Assignment, and that's my good friend Maria Vitale. She works for Liv, oh gosh, I'm trying to say it without a southern accent, Liv Sotheby's. Sotheby's? I'm from the south, it's Liv Sotheby's, but out here it's not, it's Sotheby's. So she's down here in Cherry Creek in Denver, and she can help you with your real estate needs anywhere in the world, because that's what they do there. And so, you know, if you're going to move or you need a house or whatever, give her a call. Her email address, first of all, is maria@mariasdenverhomes.com, and her phone number is 720-366-5121. At least I hope that's her number. I think it is. I'm just kidding. That's her number for you to call somebody else. Anyway, appreciate her sponsoring the Eden Assignment. I'm doing my thing, man. I'm doing these assignments every week. Trying to get a download, what that tug is in my heart that I need to talk about every week, try to let people know what it is. And I'm honored, absolutely honored. Everything in my life has been a tapestry, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't know what a tapestry was because in the South, I don't think we do tapestries. You know, we sew. but we don't do tapestries. But I know what it is now. You know, your life, every single thing that happens to you, good or bad, is like part of a weaving process into this beautiful dress or shirt if you're a guy. It's all part of a process to make this complete project, this tapestry. Nothing was in vain and nothing was wasted. The only thing that becomes in vain and the only thing that becomes wasted is when you quit. When you quit on yourself, that's when it becomes wasteful. That's when you put down that needle and you're no longer weaving the way you're supposed to weave. You know, you start weaving really ugly looking stuff. You know, I'm not someone that could really sew. I took home economics in school, you know, and it was terrible. I made the most god-awful looking purse, you know, that you've ever seen in your life. As she actually told me, this is the worst project I've ever seen, Karen, but I just like you. See, look at that. Again, someone who told me what I did really, really was bad, but gave me a chance anyway. And she gave me a good grade. It's just because I like you so much, Karen. You're a good person. You try hard. But I got to tell you, this is one of the worst handbags. It was like a purse made out of material, like a sling shoulder bag. I kind of knew early on I wasn't meant to be a seamstress. But tapestry is like a real pretty piece of material that you're going to use to make something nice. And that's what your life is, good and bad. It makes that beautiful, beautiful piece of material, that tapestry that you need to present yourself with. So don't feel anything's wasted. As long as you don't quit, it's not wasted. That's it. That's it, guys. That's my assignment this week. I will see you next time on the Eden assignment. Until then, you keep moving and you don't looking at results. Keep not looking at results. Hopefully you've heard the whole show and didn't just tune in on that. Okay. God bless you. Bye-bye.